Okay.
Welcome. We're glad to have you all here as we begin our meeting. It is 5:30. We are in the boardroom on Legacy Campus on Thursday, the 16th of March, 2023, and we are happy to have so many people here. We'll begin with roll call, starting with Jared.
Jared Black, Business Administrator.
Jeff Nielsen, board member.
Kathy Christiansen, board member.
Terry Rhodes, board member.
Roger Pulsifer, board member.
Larry Jepson, board member.
Thank you. And Chris Corcoran, Superintendent Norton, and Randall Bagley are excused this evening. And Kathy Christiansen will lead us in the pledge and the mission statement. Please rise.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our mission is to educate students for success in a changing world.
Thanks, Kathy. First on our next on our agenda is our recognitions, and first in that section of our agenda we have Teacher of the Year recognitions. Tonight we have Allison Entz, who teaches at Green Canyon High School, and her award will be presented by Principal John Anderson.
We get to stand, whatever, but I just want to introduce you to Allison Entz. I was just telling her parents back there that when you're new to a building, you are very appreciative of people that the words that get to describe them are very willing to help or super helpful or always accommodating I gathered a whole bunch of different comments from different people, and that was the universal theme. And so as a new principal coming to Green Canyon High School, I really, really appreciate Allison Entz because she just kept her world happening. And that's super impressive. Let me just share a couple of thoughts here from a few people. Allison has always been such a neat, thoughtful, caring, fun, and happy person. When she was a teenager, she would often tell her parents, "You can trust me," and they truly could. And she definitely is that. That was from her parents. One of the teachers said, "Allison is so much fun to be around and always willing to help in any way to make everything go so well." One of the secretaries said, "Allison is always friendly and willing to help anyone." Another teacher, "Allison relates so well to her students and truly is a master of her content." Another teacher mentioned, "She is knowledgeable, organized, and willing to help us all learn." Another teacher, "Allison is always there to help students or other teachers. She makes learning and technology fun and exciting. Her room is a safe place to reach and to grow." A couple of students mentioned Master Entz. That's what they refer to her as, Master Entz. "Congrats on the Teacher of the Year. It is very well deserved, especially with all the work you put in and always being there for the students." Another one said, "You're an incredible teacher because she makes the learning fun and enjoyable. I'm always excited for whatever we do each day." And the final comment that I have here is, "In commemoration of you being such a great teacher, I say congrats on being selected as Green Canyon Teacher of the Year." And I would echo that. So thank you for allowing me to recognize one of those people that has made a difference in my life, and she didn't even try to. So congratulations, Allison.
Thanks, Kathy.
Right over here. There you go. Because you're going to get your picture taken in just a minute.
Oh, sweet. Tell me when to smile. Hi. This is really awkward, but I just love teaching, and thanks to everyone who has made it happen so I can teach. I have a great family and great admin support, great district support, and I love the kids, so that's it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can we have everyone who's here with Allison please stand? Congratulations, Allison. Next up, we have McKay Cordner from North Cache, and this award will be presented by Principal Cindy Parkinson.
So can we do another school and give him just a minute? He went to the wrong district office.
Oh.
He's a few minutes away.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next up, we actually have Carrie Bodley from Millville Elementary, and her award will be presented by Principal Brady Johnson.
All right, come on up here. This is really a privilege for me to be able to recognize Carrie. She has so many talents that we are lucky enough at Millville to have. First of all, I can never beat her to school, ever. No matter how hard I try. I can always see her car in that parking lot, and that is just a tribute to the hard work that she puts in. Some of the things that I think about when I think of Carrie and the great teacher she is, that's also been shared to me by her teammates and some of her colleagues, is how many times we will see her down on her knees or sitting down in front of a student to get on their level, and how much she advocates for her kids. I've been in meetings where I was afraid to talk to Carrie because she was so fiercely, passionately advocating for her kids. And those kids know that she loves them. Her classroom is a place where learning happens every single day, and those kids are so engaged. It's so exciting to watch. As an administrator, I've asked her to do some crazy things. I've moved her around repeatedly. She's looped with classes a couple of times, taking the same class through 2 grade levels. That's hard to do, and Carrie does it happily with a smile on her face. I always love getting her letter of intent because when it says, "What would you like to do?" and she goes, "Whatever you need me to do." She is certainly an asset to Millville. She has the respect of all of her peers and her colleagues, and I can't think of anybody more deserving as Millville Teacher of the Year.
Thank you. It's really an absolute pleasure to work at Millville and work for Cache County School District. I have the most supportive, professional, incredible teaching colleagues and staff administration I could ever ask for. Thank you.
Congratulations, Carrie. Can we have anyone who's here with Carrie please stand? Next up, we have Kristen Smith from Canyon Elementary. Her award will be presented by Principal Leslie Burt.
So Kristen really hates this, you have to know. Going in, when I didn't see her as the meeting was starting, I thought, oh my heck, she bailed. She totally bailed on me. Well, I echo John's sentiment as a new principal to Canyon Elementary. I have had a great time getting the opportunity to know all of the amazing teachers out at Canyon. And Kristen stood out right from the beginning. She teaches in 1st grade, which is a pretty foundational grade. And all of her colleagues just say she's an amazing colleague and an amazing friend. And she has a sense of humor that you don't see right off the bat. Like it sneaks up on you. And then it comes out in just amazing ways. And she can hold a straight face. And then half the time you're thinking, I think she's joking. But you're not quite sure how to react. So I really appreciate that about her. And she goes above and beyond. And more importantly, she loves her students. She is so dedicated. She's there late. I'm there late. She's there later. And she works so hard to make sure she has quality education. One of the things that I read over and over in her nominations was she holds high expectations for all of her students and then she goes above and beyond to help them achieve it. What more can you say about a teacher than that? And so we are so pleased at Canyon to recognize Kristen, as much as she hates it, as Teacher of the Year this year. Thank you, Kristen.
I am not a woman of many words, so thank you very much.
Picture. Oh, I'll just set it down here and we'll do the thing.
Congratulations, Kristen. Can we have everyone who's here with Kristen please stand? Next up, we have Carol DeFries from Heritage Elementary, and her award will be presented by Principal Lance Robbins.
This is a pleasure to be here with Carol today, and I'm going to read my words today, if that's okay with everybody. Carol DeFries is Heritage Elementary School's Teacher of the Year. Carol was nominated and chosen by her colleagues because of her commitment to the teaching profession. Mrs. DeFries is currently serving as an English as a second language teacher for grades kindergarten through 6th grade. She is motivated by kindness, care, and a desire to help children grow in language arts, mathematics, science, and writing. Her students are shared with our general education teachers, and her priority is helping students grow and develop all the necessary skills to thrive in an English language arts classroom. She hopes that by helping them develop and acquire listening, speaking, writing, and reading skills, that this will help them and encourage them to become better English language learners. English acquisition is a key component of her job. However, motivating students is what she does best. She is a master teacher, and she is able to build trusting cooperation with her students, thus creating a bridge to a vital educational experience for her students to engage and become an active participant in the educational process at Heritage Elementary School. I have been impressed with her desire to be one of the first to work every morning. Each morning she has between 12 and 23 students engaged in reading. In the morning, our ELL learners are invited to read with Carol. She has so many students coming to her reading club before school hours that we have had to support her with other reading teachers. The children are so excited to choose a book from Mrs. DeFries' library, and once finished with the book, they are encouraged to take a reading counts quiz. I have been amazed at the progress of her students and the motivation and desire to simply read a book. Carol has brought the love of reading into her students' lives and will be forever changed for the better because of this one dedicated teacher. Thank you, Carol, for going the extra mile and supporting those children who often get left behind. You're my hero. It is my pleasure to present the Teacher of the Year for Heritage Elementary School, Carol DeFries.
This is such an honor, and I appreciate so much those that I work with. I have some wonderful teachers and friends that I work with, and appreciate so much their support. And I love working with these kids. Thank you.
Congratulations, Carol. Can we have anyone here with Carol please stand? And last but not least, we have McKay Cordner from North Cache Middle School. This award will be presented by Principal Cindy Parkinson.
It's also my pleasure to be here to present North Cash's Teacher of the Year, McKay Cordner. Kristen, I think the only person who maybe is more uncomfortable than you is McKay. He has been dreading this, and I've been cheerleading him on, and I'm super thrilled to be here to present McKay. Couple of things about McKay. I would describe him, he's a team player, he's an amazing faculty member, he's an amazing staff member, he's a leader. One of the things I love about McKay is that he does what's right, not necessarily what's popular. He is thoughtful about things and not reactive. So if I want to truly ask someone their opinion on something, I ask McKay. He's one of my go-tos. I'm like, he will give me a thoughtful, straight answer. And overall, he makes North Cache a better place. I did go in and commandeer his classroom, kicked him out for a minute, and asked the students to write a few notes about McKay. And I'm just going to share a couple. I need an extra hand. Okay, Mr. Cordner, you make science fun. I was dreading science at the beginning of the year. Now it's one of my favorite classes. And she goes on from there, but I'm just going to hit some highlights. John told me if he falls asleep, I'm going too long. Okay, let's see. Mr. Cordner is a great teacher because he cares about his students and he wants us to learn. Good teacher, great teacher. Mr. Cordner makes learning easier and better. His class is the highlight of my day. Thank you for all you do to help us get better. He always makes us laugh and tells us funny, sometimes scary stories. He also makes lessons fun and interactive. He talks with us, not at us. Cordner is one of the only teachers that gets us. He gives us attention, is interested in the subject. It makes us think through things and not just teaching straight out of the book. He gives us time to think through and share our thoughts. Is this the last one? Okay. Mr. Cordner always makes science fun. He doesn't drone on. I love that. I highlighted that. So he doesn't drone on forever, and he relates the science to us so that we understand it better. He lets us do lots of hands-on experiments and lets us think for ourselves. All around, amazing teacher. So I'm going to give you those. And I've got one last thing. Okay, from one of his colleagues. This is from Chris Ross, his classroom buddy, a PLT team member, and a really good friend. So he said, he's going to beat me for this. So you're getting the idea, the trend here. He's not loving this. Okay, nowhere will you find a more humble and stubborn individual than McKay Cordner. He's been an amazing coworker and partner in science for a decade now. He's the first to assist in a problem and the last to ever want credit for doing it. He's grounded in his belief in and love for the students. This is always evident when you visit his classroom. The students see his care through his expert instruction and his wily personality. We are very different individuals, but he's a perfect example of compromise and discussion in our PLC group. I could say more, but he's probably already beat red with anger and embarrassment. You get to celebrate him, but I get the honor and privilege of working with him. And I wanted to end with that because I concur. My children had Mr. Cordner as a teacher, and I now get the privilege of working with him as a peer. And he makes North Cache a better place. You can keep it short if you want.
Yeah, so the most embarrassing time of my life was when this happened in faculty meeting, and I had no idea what to say. But the kids are the best, and thanks for your kids, too.
Congratulations, McKay. And is there anyone, I would guess you didn't tell anyone about this, but is there anyone here with McKay? Yay. Last on our recognitions agenda is our super supporter of public education, and this will be presented by Assistant Superintendent Gary Thomas.
All right, I told Regan he did not have to come up here and stand by me the whole time because I'm going to read this, and I'm a slow reader, so this may take a minute. Superintendent Norton asked, as he kind of finishes up his last few months in our district, to recognize some people who have been super supporters of our district over the years, over his 27 years of tenure here. And Regan Wheeler happens to be one of those super supporters. So when Regan Wheeler's beloved wife, Jonette, passed away, he wanted to find a way to honor and memorialize her. Jonette, who was a media specialist at Lewiston Elementary for 26 years, loved books and learning. So it was an easy decision for Regan to create the Just My Wish Foundation, which supports literacy and gifted and talented education programs for elementary-aged children. Nearly 11 years after its creation, the Just My Wish Foundation, augmented with matching contributions from the Cash Education Foundation, has donated over $150,000 to support learning in Cache County schools. Regan Wheeler grew up in Lewiston. He attended Lewiston Elementary, Lewiston Junior High, and North Cache High School before graduating with the second graduating class of Skyview High School in 1966. Jonette and Regan met as seniors studying at Utah State University. He was pursuing a degree in agricultural economics, and she was studying speech and media. They married and settled down in a farm home in Lewiston, where they raised their family of 4 sons. Jonette loved reading, so her position at Lewiston Elementary as a media technology specialist fit her perfectly. She encouraged students to read by reading to them and by suggesting books pertaining to their own interests. Her affinity towards books could be seen as she championed Lewiston Elementary's Reading Incentive Program and even dressed up as the Cat in the Hat for literacy nights. She was an active member of the Utah Educational Library Media Association, from which she received several honors. She even had a book room in her home that was stuffed full of books that she enjoyed recommending to friends and family. Books were her expertise. Regan said, as he spoke of Jonette recently, people would come and she would pick out books for them for Christmas. She always knew what was in her library in our collection. Jonette was also passionate about teacher development and leadership. She was the coordinator for the Cache County School District's Teacher Induction Program for Success, assisted in the district's Teacher Mentor Program, helped organize and carry out the Gifted and Talented Program, and facilitated and implementation of teacher standards. She belonged to several educators' associations and held various leadership positions in them. I'm going to diverge for just a minute here because I had the opportunity to be the principal of Lewiston Elementary for 7 years. During that time, I worked closely with Jonette. A lot of people think the principal runs the school. Those who work in schools will tell you the secretary runs the school. I will tell you Jonette ran the school. She truly was a kingpin in our staff and on that faculty. I made a few changes while I was there, and one of the biggest changes I made, I knew I could not pull off without Jonette being on board with me. So before I went to anyone on the faculty, I sat down with Jonette and talked about my plan. As I presented that in a faculty meeting, it was so interesting because I watched a number, and I had at the time 6 men on my elementary faculty, which is rare to have that many men. But I watched as I presented my great grand idea, and all of those guys looked over at Jonette. She gave the nod, and then they said, okay. That's the kind of power she held at our school. The other thing that I loved about Jonette was her library during lunchtime became the place where all of those guys, all of those upper grade teachers, they weren't all guys, a few of them were women too, but it became the place where I like to say, went home for lunch. It was like going home to mom's to have lunch. And when you walked into that media center during the lunch hour, all those guys were sitting around the table at mom's house having lunch. In March 2012, Jonette tragically passed away from a rare blood disease. As Regan looked around at the shelves and stacks of books in his home, he realized the perfect way to honor her. He joined the board of Cache Education Foundation, and with their guidance, the Just My Wish Foundation whose initials are the same as Jonette's, was created. The first year, Regan wrote a check for $200. Over time, the amount grew, with thousands now being donated each year for literacy and gifted and talented programs. According to its mission statement, the Just My Wish Foundation fosters learning and excellence by working with educators, administrators, and parents to create fulfilling and academically enriching activities at both the school and district level. Part of the funding for donations to the Just My Wish Foundation comes from Regan's own fields, where he grows potatoes. Each fall, Regan sells bags of potatoes to staff and districts, with proceeds going to the Just My Wish Foundation. Regan also acknowledges with gratitude the generous donations of money and books from local business and community members that augment his efforts. Terry Lewis, who works with Regan on the Cash Education Foundation Board, describes him as an advocate for education his entire life. She continued, Regan works tirelessly to raise funds and implement programs that impact teacher and student literacy development. In addition, he has been able to fund technology resources for the Gifted and Talented program. He donates his valuable time and efforts to support the Cash Education Foundation's many programs and events. We are grateful for his insight and commitment to our success. We fondly remember Jonette as we express appreciation to Regan for his generous contributions and efforts to support students and educators in the Cache County School District. Jonette and Regan truly are both super supporters of education. Thank you, Regan.
This is a picture that was painted just for you by Lester Lee, our notorious, illustrious art teacher at Skyview High School. And we appreciate everything that you have done and continue to do for Cache County School District. Thank you.
Sure, I don't want to talk, but I'll say a few words. Public education is one of the greatest things that has made America great. The education of the masses, free education for everyone. Public education is the answer. I have a real good board that supports and helps us. Maggie Jones, Robin Clements, there we go. Jeannie Nelson, and Steve Siemens isn't with us anymore, but he was on our board, and Kathy Toulson. And they've been kind of the ones that pick out the books. We are putting in a lot of books now. And we support K through 6, around 10,000 students, and we're running around 30,000 a year now. So, thank you. I'm going to take a picture there.
All right. We don't want to be big enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did Regan already escape? Oh, is there someone? Oh, can we have those who, well, everyone who's here with Regan already stood up? Thank you. And this is the end of our recognition agenda, so if you want to leave, this is the time, but you're welcome to stay for the business. Next on our agenda is our time for public input. And we have Justice Smith, who would like to speak about Black History Month. And I'll just remind you while you're coming up that you have 3 minutes to address the board. And if you have questions or concerns, we have administrators here who would be happy to discuss that with you afterward. Sure. And that your comments are recorded, so make sure that they are respectful and don't address personnel issues here. But we've seen you before, and you're always respectful, so thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. First off, this was a great start to this meeting, recognizing these teachers. As a former educator, I know the work that they do, so this was a great start. So congratulations to all those teachers. Good evening, school board members. My name is Justice Smith, and I am a parent with 3 children in a River Heights Elementary School. I wanted to speak tonight to address opportunities for schools in our district to continue to push education, engagement, and awareness of marginalized groups in Cache Valley schools. As we all know, last month was Black History Month. Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing their central role in U.S. history. I myself am Black Puerto Rican from Amsterdam, New York, and celebrate both my nationalities with my children and teach them the importance of their cultures and race. We had asked our oldest daughter how she felt about Black History Month and how it was going in her school. Her response to us was, she just said, it just seems like no one cares about it up here. We originally moved from Arizona, and now we live in Logan, Utah. It broke our hearts to hear. This was the message that we're potentially giving her or possibly other minority students. A predominantly white school and small percentage of minorities can run parallel with education awareness and awareness with marginalized groups. We're not insinuating at all that our children's school is ignoring the importance of celebrations such as Black History Month. We are identifying how action awareness and support can provide a better experience not only to our minority students but also for white students who need to understand the importance of Black and people of color accomplishments. We have been blessed to have a principal and PTO committee that are looking to collaborate and making experiences for all of our student athletes in River Heights a meaningful one. My wife and I will be looking to implement education, engagement, and community activities to help elevate the Black History Month experience for the 23-24 academic school year. We thank Stacy Williamson and River Heights Elementary PTO committee for assisting us educating our children. We're only 1 year removed from the incidents that took place at a district high school that left emotional scars for Black students. This event most likely still had students wondering if they are in an environment of belonging. Education and awareness can help close those gaps for inclusion for all students in our Cache Valley schools. I feel the window of opportunity must take place during the primary school years as well as on the home front. This time frame from learning can and may minimize racial incidents occurring at the high school level. Not only do I ask elementary principals to look at ways to energize their programs for marginalized groups, but ask our school board to also assist with efforts in meeting needs for programming. Our Logan motto is United in Service. Let's coincide with this model to service everyone so we can be united. I would be happy to sit down with school board members to come up with ways to help Black History Month impactful for all students. Thank you for your time. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. Gary Thomas is our Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Schools. Would you like to visit with him about your ideas? Okay. Right now, or do you want him to contact you afterward? All right. Thanks for coming. Okay, moving to our consent agenda. Well, we just come and sign it right here.
She came in late.
Yep, she did.
I was zooming from the parking lot with the other people in the back here. The awards. Just such that's in the last couple of days. wanted to introduce myself. I did email you at the end of last year about the Lincoln Playground. And I don't know if you remember this, but I subbed in May and was kind of surprised that it was, decades, maybe 30 or 40 years old, I don't know, the kinder sped preschool. And then the following week, I subbed in the preschool. And there were a couple of kids in wheelchairs and an autistic kid that escaped through the broken gate. And I thought that the school board or the Cache County schools could maybe do more there. And I sent an email. I didn't get a response. But then I emailed back and did get a response after the Cache County schools did what they could, was to expand it. So there's a little more, there's grass now. They fixed the gate so kids can't escape. But we're still left with really old, one metal slide facing the sun that's just falling apart, and another climbing apparatus that kids hurt their head on all the time. A kid, I think he needed stitches this year. So I started to GoFundMe. My son is helping me, and a USU student is. We've gotten close to about $3,000. I think we need about 20. One of the comments, I was a little disappointed that no one got back to me, but they went to the school and asked if anyone knew where this letter came from. I understand it's kind of weird that the citizens just coming. But, and the comment, I think, was something like, well, at least you have a kindergarten playground. A lot of schools don't. And so I will send you all via email all of the pictures I've taken, because actually most schools do have a kindergarten playground. I went to, starting at the very top, I think it was my 9th school didn't have one, and it used to be a junior high. So I feel like it is something that the Cache County District does provide, and I realize there's one there, but it's very old, and nothing's accessible to kids with disabilities. And anyway, so I just want to put that bee in your bonnet. It's something to think about when you're doing budgets. We're doing our part. We're trying. People are reluctant, I think, to give to schools because they feel like, well, our taxes are going. I noticed that the big meat processing plant right there in Hiram donated a couple $1 million to Cache Education Foundation. But none of that was directed towards the playground. Obviously, I'm sure it was going to great things in Lincoln. I also had a question for all of you. Is there any possible way that they could have, I guess the rule is you can only have 2 fundraisers a year, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so that the principal said, we need that money. It's already been earmarked, and we can't do another one. And so is there any way to override that so that we can have a one-time playground, specific fundraiser for this playground? Hi, Jared.
Hi.
We've emailed back and forth. I normally don't sound like this. I'm a week into a cold. But is that a possibility, or?
Gary Thomas, the assistant superintendent for elementary schools, is the one who just stepped out of the room, and he's the person that you would want to talk to.
Okay.
The reason that whoever on the board answered your question, or you said took it back to the school, was because that's where this process starts. Mm-hmm. Is that if you as a parent have a concern or a problem or something, we like you to start with the teacher or the principal or the school level and then take it from there. There are other schools who are trying right now to earn money to add to their playgrounds as well, because we put our money into, we don't have the money to build playgrounds after the initial school is built. So there are other schools that are doing that as well. You could specifically talk to the PTA president at White Pine Elementary.
Summit.
And Summit is working on one as well, and their principal is heading up that work. So there are other elementaries who are doing a similar thing as what you're suggesting. And you're right, it takes a lot of money to do that.
Yeah. Millville is the only one that is kind of old like that, but they do have more playground. I don't know how Lincoln got overlooked for so many years, but yeah. So clearly there have been additions to playground, but you're saying it's all been raised at the school level. Okay. Yes. Well, we will keep going, and I will talk to Mr. Thomas. Is that his name?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Gary
you.
Thomas. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you being here, Emily, and thank you for being a teacher in our schools, helping our teachers and supporting our staff. That's awesome. Okay, next on our agenda is the consent agenda. And I will take a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the consent agenda as printed. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on this? Any discussion? No. Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and we will vote to approve the consent agenda as printed.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared. Next, we have our action agenda, and first up on this agenda is the request for the approval of the Intech School Land Trust Plan, presented by Principal Jason Stanger. And thank you for being so patient to wait that long.
No, great things to be patient for. So every year the Cash Board, as our authorizer, is required to be the approver of our trust land plan. Our Trust Lands Committee, our Parent Involvement Council, has approved this, as has our governing board, and so you would be the third approval. There are actually two parts to this. One is an amendment to this year's plan, and you have that in front of you. Primarily, we saved some money in some areas or had some other grant funds that came in, and so we want to reallocate some money to the purchase of technology, since we can no longer use student fees for technology purchases, and that's the primary part of the move of the money there. And I ask for approval from the board for our fiscal year 23 amendment.
Okay. I will take a motion.
I move that we approve the Intech Land School Land Trust Plan.
For fiscal 23.
For fiscal 23.
Is this so? This would be
There's
the
an
amendment for
amendment.
23,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and the plan for 24.
Oh,
is that
okay.
right?
If we can have them as two separate votes, that would be.
Okay. I move that we approve the 2023 Trust Land Fund Amendment. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I second.
Any question? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Intech fiscal year 23 School Land Trust.
President Rhodes, sorry, just a second. We're set up to have this as one motion, and so if you do it as separate, I won't be able to electronically have you vote that way.
Okay.
So it might be better to
do
that together if that's possible.
Does that work okay for
Yeah,
you?
works fine for me.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I move.
do you want to make an amended motion?
Yes. So how do I do that? Just
say it again.
Okay. I move that we approve the fiscal year 23 School Land Trust Fund Amendment and the fiscal year 24 School Land Trust Plan. There you go.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Intech fiscal year 23 School Land Trust Plan Amendment and the Intech fiscal year 24 School Land Trust Plan. And well done. They're both well done.
Mm-hmm.
We will vote unless there's any other discussion.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the Intech Land Trust Amendment for fiscal year 23 and the Land Trust Plan for fiscal year 24 passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared. And thank you, Jason, for
Thank
coming.
you again for your support of InTech. We appreciate it.
How's your, are you still planning to move at the end of this year?
Not this year, but next year will be, the end of next year, we'll be moving over to BTech, actually inside their facility and leveraging the opportunities over there. So,
wow, that'll be great.
yeah, that'll be wonderful for our students. So,
Excellent. Thank you.
thanks.
Next, we have vaping litigation approval presented by Kirk McRae.
Thank you. Back on October 7th of 2021, I came to you seeking your support to join a class action lawsuit. This was a class action lawsuit against Juul Laboratories Incorporated, JLI, for the harmful effects and impact that their products had on public health and on school districts and schools and students in particular. I am happy to report that your support, it looks like, will bear fruit. In preparation for this meeting, included in your packet a pretty lengthy document that is part of the settlement agreement that school districts are required to authorize and sign in order to receive settlement from this lawsuit. This lawsuit represents, I would guess, 2,000 or 3,000 school districts across the country, and the payout on this settlement is significant. The payout is derived from a very complicated formula that, if you've gone through the packet, there are numerous pages that explain how that formula is derived. The primary factor on school districts to determine the portion that they will receive is the student body size. And our size was a little over 19,000 when that snapshot was taken. I'm told that once you approve this settlement, that we can expect the first payment this fall, so in the fall of 23, and that the payments that we receive pursuant to this settlement agreement come to us with no strings attached. In other words, it's purely at the discretion of the school board and the superintendent to determine how those funds are spent. There's not a follow-up accounting, but the settlement, if you've read through it, takes place over the next 5 years. So let me just share a couple of the important numbers with you. The gross settlement amount for the Cache County School District, and I think I wrote it in hand on the front page of that large document set, is $483,109. The net, which takes out attorney's fees, court costs, and other costs, for our district would be right around $336,000. So again, I think that this was a wise move for our district to pursue and participate in this litigation. I think that the vast majority of school districts in Utah did. I think 35 out of 41, and represented by the same law firms. The France Law Group is the umbrella litigation firm on local basis, Curtin and McConkey is the Utah firm that we've been dealing with specifically. And so in any class action settlement, the group that makes the most money are usually the attorneys, and there's a lot of work that goes in and a lot of costs that they have. But the net settlement amount for us would be that $336,000. The way that will be distributed to us is that 50% of that amount would come in the first payment to us. Again, I am assuming in the fall of 2023, so this fall. And then the remainder of that would be distributed to us over the next 4 years at 12.5% of that total amount. So the largest amount, lump sum, will come this fall. And we will talk as an administration and certainly as a board on ways that we can use that most effectively. And as I said, it's kind of wide open. There aren't strings that are going to be required for us to follow up on. But one of the requirements is that the school board does need to affirmatively approve the settlement, and then I can go in and effectuate the paperwork so that it can be processed. So, any questions that you have? And again, the settlement or the documents that I gave you, I pulled out. There were about 60 pages of line items of all the school districts. I just put in our school district so you kind of see representatively what that looked like. But it's a substantial document, and if you authorize it, I can take the next steps to facilitate it.
Okay. So, in your estimation, did the intent reached that we were hoping for in this?
I think so. This is very sophisticated litigation. It really falls on the heels of the tobacco litigation, the Philip Morris. These companies, and I guess I should be specific, Juul made a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars over a long period of time, and they will continue to make a lot of money. When you get into the question of objectives and whether they're met, probably a lot of different answers on that. But I will say that it would be almost impossible to do this on our own. And so one of the things that we do when we accept this settlement is we give up our future right to pursue litigation against them.
That's what I was referring to. I just wanted to make sure, because I figured once we sign, we're saying, okay, that we're done. I just wanted to make sure that that we feel like the objective was reached.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. Yes, I think that the objective is met. I think that some of the profits of these companies will be impacted by this. Not only is the corporation profiting from this, but the shareholders, and there are some significant shareholders, and this does not necessarily release the shareholders. This is just for the corporation of Juul Labs Incorporated.
Okay.
But yes, I believe that it was the best way to maybe change some of their behaviors.
Okay. Thank you.
So you think they have changed their behaviors?
Yeah, I think they have, primarily because they've been compelled to, and a lot of that is statutory mandates by state and federal governments. It doesn't change the problem, just like the tobacco litigation didn't change the problem. but it definitely gives some regulatory teeth to change some of the obvious behaviors and marketing techniques.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, I will take a motion.
I make a motion to approve the litigation approval for vaping.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the vaping litigation approval by the board so that Kirk can move forward with the next steps in this litigation, accepting this award, financial award. Any other discussion to this? Okay, then we'll vote.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the vaping litigation settlement passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared. And so then is it just coincidence that the next thing on our agenda is the request for approval of tobacco and nicotine-free school policy?
It is coincidence and maybe serendipitous, but as the board committee on policy review has met and asked for certain policies to be updated, one of those policies was the tobacco, nicotine, and electronic cigarette policy. So in the last study session, we brought this for your review, and I will say that this really is a combination of the old policy and the model policy that USBA provides. When I looked at those, I felt like there were some important language in the old policy and some good clarification in the model policy. So this is a combination of the two, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Does it happen often that administrators or teachers find e-cigarettes or any of these vaping products in schools? Yeah, and definitely the high schools would be the area where we see those the most, and primarily on students. Occasionally we'll have adult visitors, or there's been times when we've had contractors there that we have to remind of what the policy is and the prohibition is. And I'm looking at Brittany, who has probably the most relevant current information on that. How often do you find vaping products at Ridgeline? A lot? Okay.
There's way more out there.
Okay. Okay. Okay, great. I don't see all of those. That is definitely handled at the school level. It's not a product that is usually distributed, so it's a personal consumption. But yeah, it's definitely a matter of education and enforcement.
So is a e-cigarette product that's confiscated, is it, I guess this would be a question for Brittany since you wouldn't know. Is that something that's like a cell phone that's confiscated, and at the end of the day they get to come and pick it back up again?
Nope. We did keep them. We kept them in a cooler because they stink. And we kept them for evidence in case we ever needed to come back and check them. We never did. We just left them at the end of the year. Actually, I had the resource officer destroy them. We took them, destroy them. But we did have one parent one time come in and ask for it back because it was hers. Her son had stolen, and we told her no.
The very last paragraph of the policy does address that, and if it is a student product, Our general policy is to confiscate and then ultimately dispose of it.
Okay. Yeah, I read that last paragraph, but I also have been in schools and know that there is a no cell phone policy in classrooms, and that's not enforced in most classrooms. And so I just wondered how this one is.
I would say that this is viewed differently than a cell phone, which has many legitimate purposes. Unfortunately, just my opinion, I think cell phones are probably more harmful in the end than even these are, but we're not here to talk about cell phones right now.
Right.
They're probably instruments of mass destruction, but I'll get off my soapbox and just stick with cigarettes right now.
Okay.
So thanks for reformatting this so it fits all of the other policies that we have. Are you up for a couple of editing?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. And I apologize that I wasn't here last time, but yes, any edits that you'd like to make, I'm open to. I think that if we do, I'm not quite sure how the motion would, if we need to bring that back.
Oh, let me just tell you.
Okay.
It's just marking it. It's underlined on the computer.
Oh.
In the definitions, C, D, and E, the pre-filled and non-therapeutic, there's something with that. I'm kind of thinking that might need hyphens. Those two might need hyphens to get that correct. And that's it.
Okay. I see, yep, I see where you're talking. Okay. I will we'll get some dashes in there.
Okay.
The other thing I would suggest is that the really cool symbol for sections in code, you're the only person who uses it. So you need to convert the rest of the people in the district who write policy to use that really cool symbol.
It's not easy to find.
I know because I digitized all of a town code one year. And so I got very familiar with where that symbol is found.
And once you find it once, then it's easy to find on your computer.
That's right.
But I agree with you. That's just how you reference statute.
Yes. And so anyway, we should probably be consistent with that in policy. However, if you can convince everyone else at the district office to add that into the
Jenda, I'm looking at you.
References, that would be great.
Okay.
That sounds like a big project, Jenda.
We
will. As we update, we can do that.
Okay.
All right. I'll take a motion for this policy.
I move that we approve the tobacco and nicotine-free school policy.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the tobacco and nicotine-free school policy changes and revision. Are there any other questions or discussion on this? Okay. Then we will vote.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the amended tobacco and nicotine-free schools policy passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate that. And thank you, Kirk. And
thank you.
You're up for the next one, too. Student transfer policy.
Yeah, the student transfer policy is the title of the policy that we would like to replace. Okay. And so this language is almost entirely new language compared to the old student transfer policy. And one of the reasons for the change in title is that student transfer is an old term that I think was incorporated into the older policy, but the correct term and the statutory term is open enrollment, and oftentimes we also call that school choice. But that this policy acknowledges that one of the options for the public in the state of Utah is to request enrollment for state residents in a school in which the guardian or parent does not reside. And we see that in our district fairly regularly. I think that during our open enrollment period, which just ended on the 3rd February and Friday, I think we had between 600 and 700 applications for open enrollment for the new school year, the 23-24 school year. And so this is something that is common, it's routine. That would include any student in their home boundary who want to attend another school. That could be someone from the Logan School District. It could be someone who lives in Salt Lake. The threshold requirement is they have to be a state resident. They cannot use this policy and statute to attend as an out-of-state student. But the policy, it recognizes two different time frames. There is what we call the priority enrollment basis, and that is when parents and guardians can put in school choice application for the following school year. By law, that runs from November 15th through the first Friday in February, and it used to be December 1st, so that was one of the reasons why this needed to be updated. But the entire policy really needed to reflect more the current practice. This policy and the law also recognizes that outside of that open enrollment period, that parents can always put in an application at any time during the school year for immediate change in enrollment. We call that a non-priority or a closed enrollment application. And to the extent that we can, we try to facilitate those, but it's really a case-by-case basis based on the time of year, the capacity of the incoming school, and sometimes the behavior and attendance of the student that's wanting to change. So this policy reflects all of those. It does make reference to the state statute, and the statute is pretty lengthy and it's fairly technical. We do comply with it, but I didn't want to restate the entire statute, so this is a summary of what some of those requirements are.
Great. Does anyone have questions for Kirk?
So are we in line with Logan School District 2? So this includes them also?
Yes, yeah, and it goes both ways. We have students that school choice into some of their schools. We've got students that school choice from their boundary. So yes, it does go both ways, and both districts comply with the same statute.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the approval of registration that the student transfer policy that we're replacing with the open enrollment policy.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we remove the school student transfer policy and replace it with the open enrollment school choice revised policy. And we will, all in favor, please vote on that.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the newly revised open enrollment policy replacing the former student transfer policy passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared, and thank you, Kirk. Last one.
Yeah, and thank you again. The last one of all three of these policies that I'm bringing before you is the one that was least revised. But the certificated length of contract policy needed a few updates to reflect the current practice. So in the very first paragraph, we did make some changes. We changed some of the other titles, Chief Academic Officer and Deputy Superintendent, to Assistant Superintendents. And we also took out the kind of nebulous, as required by the public. We didn't quite know what that meant, and so that was a change that we made in the very first sentence. Down on number 3, another thing that prompted this change is that we did change our teacher-based contract from 183 days to 186 effective this school year. That was a nice change for us, but we needed to update this policy. So number 3 used to say normally 183, and now it reflects that new base contract of 186. The old policy also had one full paragraph that we removed, and that had to do with providing employees with contract information. That information now is primarily available online through our employee self-serve module. And it's also a practice that we haven't followed in many years. So we deleted that paragraph. And then the very last thing on number 4, there used to be a basis in there for the contract minutes. I think it was the 94-95 school year. I can't find anyone who remembers that or knows why that was used. The minutes also are governed by state statute. 990 hours, is that what it is, at a minimum? Mm-hmm. So that is a de facto minimum that we need to follow, and we do, and I think then some. So those were the changes that we made in this policy, and mainly fairly minimal revisions.
Excellent. Anyone have any questions?
Well, I have a couple of questions on editing again, and maybe you can help me with this. So down on number 4, is 1994-95 school year, is that a title?
That's the old policy.
That's the name of the old policy?
No, you're looking at the policy.
Yeah, we did take that out. That's one of the edits that we made.
No. Sorry. Hang on. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh, okay.
This one's much simpler.
Oh, okay, so we don't have to worry about that. Never mind.
Okay, good.
Would that be a title, though, or would it just be the school?
No, when this policy was maybe revised or updated, I think that the number of minutes in the teacher contract then was a snapshot was taken, so that if there was significant changes to the number of minutes in a school day, that we would at least have a discussion about that. That hasn't happened, and really state law has governed more of that discussion than district policy.
So I have another question, and I keep telling everyone when I edit that like superintendent, assistant superintendent, business administrator should not be capitalized because it's just like teacher, farmer.
Yeah, but they feel really important.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And they want to be capitalized. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so you can do it that way, and it's called the vanity clause. So you can leave it either way you want.
That fits well with that group, I'm sure.
All right.
I'm just kidding. No, and that really is a style, and I'm happy to adjust that. That's the way it was in the old policy, is capitalized.
But you can also capitalize it when it is pertaining to a specific
person.
Right.
Which these are.
Well, not really, because the people change.
Yeah.
Right, but it's pertaining to the specific person filling those positions. So we could argue this all night. Okay.
Let's don't.
You decide.
Okay, and I'm happy stylistically any way to do it.
It's up to you.
Okay. I'll just keep it the status quo because that's the way it was.
Okay.
Excellent. Thanks, Kirk. We appreciate your patience. If there aren't any more questions, then I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to approve the employment certificated length of contract policy.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the employment length of contract policy for certificated employees. And so now we will vote.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the amended length of contract for certificated employees policy passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared, and thank you, Kirk.
Thank you all. Thank you all. I hope your brackets are doing okay.
Oh, Virginia lost early, so they're out.
And so did Arizona.
So did Utah State.
Yeah. Yep.
But we weren't expecting much from them. Oops, I shouldn't have said that on a recording. Okay, next up we have a request for approval of financial policies, but I don't see Scott here, so I assume that Jared will be presenting this.
I think we just copied and pasted that from the prior meeting, so my apology. I believe Scott gave an overview of these policy changes at the last meeting, so I'll do a quick recap, and then if you have any questions, we can go through that. The District Audit Committee, which includes 3 school board members, together with myself, have been working on updating I'll just call it the financial policy. We currently have a gigantic financial policy, and we're working to divide that into a few sections, primarily so that the policies for our finances are a little bit easier to sort through, and when somebody needs to find something out, it's easier to find. So this is the first part of that effort. So there are 2 actions here that I'm requesting. The first one is actually a new policy, and that's called the Accounting, Auditing, and Financial Reporting Policy. This has components that are required by the state, and they're in state rule that we have the components of this policy. The second policy is called the Fiscal Authority and Management. That's just a title I gave it. We could certainly change that, but I was just trying to cover that the intent of the policy is to kind of outline authority and management responsibilities for our finances. And so that policy is an amendment from the current fiscal and procurement policy. And as we go along and do these revisions, as we approve one of the smaller policies, what we would do is just take that section out of the larger policy, since it will be its own new policy, if that makes sense. So requesting those 2 policy actions.
Okay, any questions or comments for Jared? I have a request that on the your list of legal codes, that you put the number of the code there as well, please. Just for consistency's sake with our other policies.
Okay, you bet.
Okay. And I just looked them up so I could give them to you after. So does anyone else have comments or discussion on this?
Thank you for doing that.
Thanks for doing it.
Yeah, the new ones are much easier to read. Thank you, Jared. So seeing no more discussion, I will take a motion.
I move that we approve the accounting, auditing, and financial reporting policy and the amendment with the fiscal authority and management, and also the removal of the fiscal and procurement policy.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the new accounting, auditing, and financial reporting policy and the amended fiscal authority and management policy and as well as removing the fiscal and procurement policy from that section. And seeing no more discussion, we will vote.
Can you remind me who did the second on that? I'm sorry.
Kathy.
Kathy? Okay, thank you. Voting is closed, and the motion to approve a new accounting, auditing, and financial reporting policy and an amended fiscal authority and management policy passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared. Next up, we have a request for approval of the proposed 2023-24 school fee schedule presented by Tim Smith.
Take a little liberty before I begin just to say thank you for your work on the tobacco and nicotine free. I will tell you, it's been 9 years since I was in the high school, and I was there for 8 years at Skyview, that we almost had tobacco stamped out of our schools, and that's certainly, and drugs were rare to, not that they were rare in society, but they're rare to find in school settings, and both tobacco and drugs, and that is not the case today. We have a serious problem again, and with the vaping, there's TCH that's being introduced into that, which is the basis of marijuana, and it's not just a high school; it's pretty significant in our middle, and even Gary will tell you in our elementary schools there's been quite a few cases this year. So I'm hoping we can use some of those funds to put some sensors in. I still remember when I was back in elementary school, crossing the street to the park across from there and seeing my two brothers smoking, 12 and 13 years old, I think, and they still smoke today. My dad died of heart attack and complications from smoking and other things. I bet my two brothers would tell you if they could rewind the clock, because they've had a dickens of a time giving up that habit later in life, that they would certainly do that. So I think any effort we can make to dissuade kids when they're young in those two areas would be great. Just trivia, just for fun, on your school choice. We often think that the differential between us and Logan in trading students is high, and that we get a lot of their students and they get very few of ours, but the differential is actually 491 students come to us from Logan, and 350 of our students go back and attend school in Logan School. So it's not that big of it's not as significant of a differential. We lose a lot more to charters and online schools than we do to each other, and I think it's a good thing. We can share students, and sometimes a change of address is good for a student to have that opportunity. So anyway, totally off topic.
Thanks
sort
for
of.
that.
Good trivia.
Yeah.
So I don't have the cool symbol for the Utah code in mind, but after tonight, I'm going to add it. And you have an older policy. I didn't change the Cache County Board of Education, but it's changed in the copy I have here. So I just didn't have time to do that before Emily saw it. So those changes you requested in the policy itself, sorry, I've reversed these two again on you, are changed. I've changed the references to Utah Code and School Board policy in the back as well. So I guess the first issue is, and again, this is a new model policy that we've adopted to replace our current policy on fees. So any questions or follow-up questions from last time?
Nope. No, seeing no discussion, then I'll take a motion to approve Tim's great work.
I move that we approve the proposed 2023-2024 school fee schedule.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that no, this is not the schedule. This is the policy.
Yeah, I reversed them on you. I apologize.
Sorry. So do you want to restate your
I
motion?
move that we approve the proposed 2023-2024 school fee policy.
Larry?
Second.
Thanks. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2023-24 school fee policy because we now have to revisit this yearly. So seeing no more discussion, we will vote.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the school fees policy amended for the 2023-24 school year passes unanimously.
Thanks, Jared. And now back up to number 7, request for approval of the proposed 2023-24 school fee schedule. Did anything change since the last time we saw it?
Yes, I made
Okay.
one amendment I would like to discuss. I also felt last time, the fee schedule looks pretty ominous. I did want to point out a couple of things that I forgot to point out last time, and that is our fee schedule incrementally over the last few years has changed significantly in that there's not many examples of required core type courses that a student needs to graduate that are on this fee schedule. I think they're almost all gone. So free and public education that's what we're trying to get to is other than the registration fees, some of the things like graduation or computer labs and those kind of things, those fees are still there, postage fees, activity fees, locker rentals, but a lot of fees have been removed from the fee schedule. And we did another round of those last year, anticipating that the legislature would force our hand on that. They didn't, but I still think we did the right thing in removing as many of those fees as we can. So on the fee schedule, you'll see that most of the fees are related to elective type courses where students do projects or to extracurricular or co-curricular activities that they participate in, which I wholeheartedly support. They're an important component of our educational experience for students. As with anything, they're both a burden and a blessing, and I think most of our principals will tell you they spend a lot of time supporting events that happen outside the school day compared to what they do inside the school day, but nonetheless, I think those are important programs. So the change that was made, and to give you a little context, and this is hard for me to understand because I've never had a daughter compete in cheer or dance, but it's the most expensive fee that we have on the fee schedule. I'm told by those that are involved in dance that what they pay for dance and other activities outside of our school system on a yearly basis is 3 or 4 times what happens inside our schools. But apparently the state changed, apparently they give schools a maximum amount per girl that they can spend on their props and dance routines for their activities, and that was increased $400 this year. And so doesn't mean you have to charge that, but you can. And so
$400 per girl?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's significant, and why they put that, why the state keeps moving that line on that, I don't quite understand that. Props are getting quite sophisticated and that type of thing. But anyway, they requested a fee increase to compensate for that, I didn't want to give them the fee increase at the level that they requested. And then I had the cheer approach me about the competitive cheer. We didn't raise that enough. So anyway, you'll see represented on there that we moved both the cheer and the dance fees up to $1,600 respectively each, which was half what the drill was requesting. They actually requested that we move it up to $2,000, but I didn't want to go even half of what the state moved it up. So that's kind of where we met them. It was half of that. So that's a change.
I have a question about the truancy citation fine.
Mm-hmm.
How is truancy defined on this document?
I don't think it's defined on this document because this is the fee, but truancy in your attendance policy, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but it's a student leaves for school but doesn't arrive at school, or leaves school and is not in school, basically without parental permission. So they're sloughing school. It would be a truancy. And they're caught doing that. So you'll get codes on the student attendance. The three that are basically relevant here. You get a verified absence, which is parent called in and said, yeah, Johnny will be staying home today. Unverified is we got no parent call, but we still don't know if the student's truant because we don't know if it's just the parent hasn't called in or something to that effect. And the truant is, yeah, we saw you out in the parking lot leaving and or vaping out behind in the boys' room or something. But anyway, that's the difference is with truancy. So
this fee is approved by the state, by USBE?
Yeah, it's also in your policy. So in your attendance policy, separate from this, you have the ability for schools to charge a $20 or $25 fine for first and second offenses. And there's only one school, to my knowledge, that's currently doing that, and that's Ridgeline, which requested that. But when the state looked at our fee policy, they said, you have this in your attendance policy, but it also constitutes a fee and needs to be represented on your fee schedule. So that was part of the audit.
Okay. Right.
And it also has to be waivable. So you can slough school, and if you financially can't pay the fine of your truancy fine, you can waive that.
Okay.
So.
But you're not telling very many people that, right?
No, but they're getting a lot better at paying attention to kids that have some financial difficulty, and of course all that's done confidentially.
Okay.
So do you hand this out to parents, or is it on the website, or?
It gets sent out in the summer mailings.
Okay. So will you look under Section G?
Yep.
Right by, where is it? Oh, no, Section F, and right on the line where drill 1,600 was 1,400.
That'll go. I'll take the 1,400 out.
Right, but can you see they're not lined up?
Yeah, they'll all line up once I take that out.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted you to see the change so that it made sense to you. But yeah, the formatting will shift around when I fix that.
I'm sorry that I do this, but even when my kids mow the lawn, and I go out, you missed that spot right over there. Those things
It's what made you a great English teacher.
It's a blessing and a curse.
All right. Any other questions for Tim? Seeing no more discussion, I will take a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the proposed 2023-2024 school fee schedule.
I second.
Great. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the proposed 2023-24 school fee schedule. And seeing no more discussion, we will vote.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the proposed 2023-24 school fee schedule passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Tim. Next up, we have Brittany, who's been writing like crazy, and so I'm sure she's going to give us an hour-long presentation here.
I've been writing thank you notes. We have a lot of teachers that are helping with our PD day tomorrow, so wanted to get those done before the day rather than after. So, any questions about we're not really approving the county health data because it is what it is, but requesting approval for the sex education instructional materials. So do you have any questions for that?
No, thanks for putting them all in the attachments last time so that we could see those.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions for Brittany? All right, I'll take a motion to approve the sex education instructional materials.
I move that we approve the sex education instructional materials.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the sex education instructional materials, and seeing no more discussion, we will vote.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the sex education instructional materials passes unanimously.
Thank you. And next, we have a request for approval of general instructional materials.
Yes, so this is our instructional materials policy. Any questions on that from what I presented last time?
Nope. Okay. All right, I will take a motion.
I move that we approve the instructional materials policy.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the instructional materials policy as presented in our last meeting. Seeing no other discussion, we will vote.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the amended instructional materials policy passes unanimously.
Thanks, Jared. And last on our action agenda is the request for approval of LEA-specific licenses that Brittany presented last time.
Yep, and one of them actually got their professional license actually it was the very next day. So it's just for 2 teachers. Anthony Bruno no longer needs an LEA license.
Very good. That's always exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to approve the LEA specific licenses.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the LEA specific licenses for the list that Brittany gave us last time. Seeing that we have no other discussion, we will vote.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the requested LEA-specific licenses passes unanimously.
Thanks, Jared, and thank you, Brittany. Yep, thank you. Moving on to our reports agenda, we will have the monthly financial report from Jared.
Okay. So board members, in the agenda content for this item, I've always put the one file that has our revenues and expenditures reports, but I put a second file on there this month that just has a little outline of what I'm going to talk about. President Rhodes asked me to give an update on our audits in this report, so tonight's will probably be the longest because once I've said we're done with it in this meeting, I probably won't bring it up again unless there's a follow-up reason to. And as of right now, I'm counting 9 audits that we've participated in over roughly the last 12 months. Just going to go from top to bottom on the list that I've given you, but We're currently participating in a school food services audit. In fact, I spent the majority of my workday today providing information and emailing back and forth on this audit. So we're right in the middle of that. I believe that's an audit that's completed every 5 years. We also have smaller monitoring with school food services that happens annually through USB, and it's also a program that's audited every 2 or 3 years as part of our regular financial audit because it's such a large federal program. But things are going well with that audit. Kind of as a side audit, we also participated in a school food services audit for Intech, and that is because we provide school food services, I believe, through Green Canyon High School. So we participated in that audit and provided information, etc. But that portion is completed now. Special ed audit, again, is one that it's been several years since we've had a full audit like we are in the middle of right now. But we were selected for that this year. It's ongoing. Jenny and I met with a team of auditors from USB today about this particular audit. Things look to be going well, but that's where we're at with the special ed audit. It's ongoing. We've provided all of the information they've requested. Other than they requested today a list of a full month of invoices to review. It wasn't even sampled out like normal auditing would be. It's a full month. So Stacy has quite a list to go through there. CTE and Tim, you may know more about this, but we received last summer, a request for audit documents for CTE for monitoring. We provided those several months ago, and I haven't heard anything since that time. So. Okay, are we closed out on that? Okay, usually they'll send us a letter. I may have just not been on the email for that, but it sounds like that one's completed. Also last year we had an audit with Department of Workforce Services, so this was not a USBE audit. This was a state of Utah audit, and that included 3 programs: expanded student access, teen after-school prevention, and intergenerational poverty. So we provided a lot of information about our expenses and procedures and practices in those programs. That one is completed. We've received our closing letter for that audit.
What is teen after-school prevention?
Which of you is an expert on that?
What is that?
Teen after-school
prevention, things like drugs, alcohol.
Oh, like classes or activities or whatever. Okay.
After-school programs that we run at all of our elementary,
Okay. Thanks.
All right. The next audit we're participating in is a data reliability audit. This is a new or newer audit from USB, and we were selected to participate. I visited with Robin earlier today just to find out where things were at. I know we supplied a lot of information earlier in the year, and to our knowledge, they're still sifting through that. We haven't heard back with follow-up questions, so it's still pending. Also, earlier this school year and going back into the prior school year, we were chosen as a peer district for the Salt Lake City Legislative Audit. So this was an audit conducted through the state auditor's office, and Salt Lake School District was chosen for the audit, but they select districts who are similar in size or some characteristic to be a peer district. So we participated as a peer district, which means we went through a lot of the same interviews. We provided a lot of the same financial information so that there was comparison. If you're interested in that audit, I'm sure it's on the state auditor's website to look through. The final one is Title I. We met earlier this year with a team from USB for the Title I audit, provided financial information and answered a lot of questions, programmatic questions for Title I. I visited with Paula, and that audit is completed, no findings, and we came out of that just fine. So that's a summary of our audits for this year. Any questions or thoughts or concerns? Yeah. It's true. The ESSER funding that we've received for COVID requires a massive report. So we kind of worked our way through it last year, and I think we'll be a little more efficient this year with it, but it is a lot.
When do you get to do your real job?
At night. Tim and I were both there last night. I left at 10. He was still there. So
So you guys are like high school administrators, and you're working the day shift and the swing shift?
sometimes.
Swing shift's a lot quieter and you get a lot more done.
It is.
As a district administrator than a high school administrator? Okay.
And
Right.
holidays are a great day to work as well, huh?
Well, the cost for an audit, I mean, this is significant, especially the amount of audits that we have. I mean,
Yeah, I've started asking.
That's it.
I've started asking those who are doing a lot of the compiling of data, et cetera, to tally their hours, because I want to have some data to back up the amount of time that we're spending on it.
Jeff would like some data too. He's going straight to USBE to tell them, look. He's going to the legislature next year to tell them, look, you're costing us this much money.
Yep.
Yeah, I might be a little grumpy in these interviews with folks from USB too. So if you hear about that, it's probably true. So
We'll back you up. We'll totally back you up.
All right.
And thank you for this financial report. It's awesome. So great.
Well, you can read through it. I won't read things to you that you can read, but I do want to just note a couple of quick things. First, thanks to Jenda and Stacy, our business webpage is updated. Terry, you noted the other day that we have pictures on the website.
It has a picture on there.
Nice.
But we still don't have a picture here.
Oh.
We're going to do a big unveiling of the picture here when it's time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want me to bring cookies?
That'll be just my style.
Balloons with confetti in them too.
But what I am glad about is we have PDF fillable forms. So if you need to fill out a travel request or a travel reimbursement or other forms, Stacy has put fillable forms on there, so you can just type in the information and email it.
That's
if you'd
awesome.
like. So glad about that.
Do you still have the paper ones for me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Finally, just a quick update. I know this is seems to be the report that will just never get finished, but I should have to you tomorrow. Should have finished today, but like I said, I spent a lot of time with an auditor. But I will finish tomorrow the draft for the popular financial report. I'll email that to you, and if you'd like to look through it and let me know if you have any suggestions, we'll get those put together and then send out shortly. So
Excellent. Thank you so much. And then you'll have completed your goal for the year for the board.
I can just be done for the year. Yeah, great.
And then you can resume your work for the state. Anybody have any questions for Jared on his financial report?
No, thanks for all your work.
Looks good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have board member reports. Anyone have something to add?
I had something to say, but I can't remember what it was, so you're in luck.
Well, usually you have a list.
A list of things.
Okay, well, I'll say something and then you can think.
It's not that important, I guess. Oh. No, never mind. Sorry.
Okay. Just a reminder about our high school graduation dates coming up at the end of May. I can't believe it's already this time of year again. And those will be in the last week of May on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And do any of you have a burning desire to do a specific assignment at any of the high schools that you want to request? Jeff, do you want to give a welcome speech at everyone, or?
No, I do not have a burning desire.
Okay, then I'll just make those assignments.
Okay.
And you'll all follow through.
Yeah.
Way to go. The other another question that I have is, well, I have two more questions. So, because of our change in superintendent, we currently have on our yearly calendar that we'll have a board retreat in June. But I'm wondering if our new superintendent begins the 1st of July, if we might want to wait after that to have the board retreat. What are your thoughts?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Then I will get with Emily and see what's your preference, to put 2 meetings in July for that, or to put an extra meeting in August?
Whew.
It doesn't matter.
I would go for August, but
Okay. Then I will talk to Emily about
well,
adding.
and I'm not saying we have to do that. That would just be my vote. But if someone else feels differently,
Roger's checking his Hawaii schedule and all of his other cruise schedules.
July's busy, but August,
Is busy too.
as long as it's not the second Thursday. We could do the first and third or whatever Thursdays.
Well, August, we usually have 2 meetings anyway.
So you're planning 3.
So we could, actually, June has 5 Thursdays. So we could have the new superintendent come on the last Thursday. That's only 2 days early to have the board retreat then on the last Thursday in June. Or
okay with that?
we can do August, which also has 5 Thursdays. So we could do the 1st, 3rd, and 5th, the 1st, 3rd, and 4th in August. Any preferences? You have a fishing trip in August?
I think I'll be gone the last Thursday, I believe it is.
So the 4th Thursday might work, because we have to avoid the second one for Roger and the last one for you. So 1st, 3rd, and 4th in August.
I better look.
All right, and then one more thing regarding a new superintendent. If we are able to make that announcement at the beginning of May, do you feel like do you think we should have a reception to meet the new superintendent before the end of this school year in May, or wait until next school year?
Next school year.
I'd wait.
Okay, so do you want to do that in August, September?
I think we should do it in August.
Before school starts, or?
Probably.
If you can shoehorn it in, is that what you're thinking, Larry?
Okay, we can ask that person.
Yeah.
About scheduling that then. Okay. All right. Those were the only things I had to ask about. And the superintendent report, unless Gary or Tim want to make that for us. then we have arrived at the end of our agenda and we will adjourn. Thank you all for being here.
Appreciate it.